Good. And we are set to go. So good morning. We've got Doreen from Newfoundland. Wow. Okay. Sharon from New Jersey. And George from NYC. All right. It is George. Thank you. Okay, good. I always love it. All right. Excellent. So welcome everybody. We've got Ohio. We've got both ends of Canada here with British Columbia and Newfoundland. We've got Cambridge, Maryland, Tarpon Springs, Northeast Ohio, California, because Vicky's here, and Virginia, Carol from Virginia, Sarah from North Carolina, Beverly from Florida. We've got all over the place, and I'm so glad. And of course, wait, let me make sure I get all these names right here. Marilyn and Will and David and Jane. Jane is Jane, yeah, from Finland. So, okay, good morning. Oh, wait, all right, I can't read the names. They're coming in, and I just can't read my little tiny print here. All right, I think I've got everybody. Whew. All right, excellent. Another new message. I have to go back to my glasses again. Can you believe this? All right, back to my glasses. So Sarah's here, and Lisa from Charleston checking in, and Nancy also from New York. Excellent. Okay, good. Well, let's get started, shall we? Okay. Fortunately, I don't need my glasses to see the music, which is right there for me. You have the warm-up PDF, and you know what? Before we get started, let me tell you that okay, I did not plan for well, actually, I didn't expect this to be quite as popular as it is, and quite so much fun for me. So, and I'm glad you guys are having fun with it. Oh, Darlene's here, terrific. So, because it's going so well and I'm having such a good time, and I hope you are too, we're going to continue our Friday morning meetups, but I have something a little bit different for you next week. Rather than a warm-up, we'll be working on something different. It's going to be a little bit of a surprise, so I won't clue you in on it now, except to say we will be here same time, as they used to say on one of my favorite TV shows when I was a kid, same bat time, same bat channel. So we'll be here next week, but something a little bit different. You will get the warm-up, and I mean the warm-up, it's not a warm-up, the PDF in advance, all that good stuff. So just something to keep in mind. So, all right, let's do today's warm-up, shall we? This warm-up starts so nice and slowly with those quarter notes, which is a great way to start. And eventually we get to some 16th notes at the end. There are a couple of things to talk about with this. And actually there's one little note mistake thing that I forgot about. So what I'd like to do is just look at, we'll divide it up into sections, sort of the way we have been. And we'll look at the first 9 measures where all the scales are. We'll look at those hands separately and then do them hands together, okay? Oh, this is good. Nancy's saying it's great news that we're going to continue. And so does another name I can't read, I don't have my glasses on. But thank you. I'm glad it's great news for you. I'm excited. All right, let's look at right hand, shall we? Okay, we've got some scales, some nice quarter notes and eighth notes. Be sure you're sitting straight. Be sure you're nice and relaxed. Be sure your shoulders are down, right? Just relaxed. Feel that nice, calm, imagine your spine just being nice and straight, going right down from your head down to your neck. Sometimes just nice and tall, but nice relaxed shoulders, supporting from your core. And we'll just do some right hand, okay? Nothing too difficult in the right hand. We'll just start right away. Nice slow tempo. Okay, ready? Go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Replace carefully. 2, 3. Keep everything relaxed. Stay straight. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Plain scale down here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Reach up, and now eighth notes. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and we'll do one more measure here. 1, 2, a triplet. 3, 4. All right, nothing too complicated there. Now we'll go back and we'll do that same amount with the left hand, or that's, we'll start in measure 3 where the left hand starts. We'll end in the same place, but this is one of those note places. So I'll give you a second. if you want to write this down, in measure 9, that's a note mistake. The left hand should be straight eighth notes just going right down. The rhythm is right, but the notes are not. In measure 9 in the left hand, the notes should be E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E. So it's just a straight scale down. It's a little bit easier, and that's what it was meant to be. Apparently, I just didn't change those notes when I sort of copied and pasted. So I have circled it on my music, and I shall change it before I ever let you see this PDF again. But in the meantime, I appreciate your understanding. So it's just a straight scale down in measure 9. Okay, all right. Let's go back to measure 3, and let's do the left hand on its own. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and replace your 4th finger here. It's the same fingering as the right hand up to this point. Reach down with your 4th finger. 1, reach all the way back up to that E. 1, 2, 3, and now the scales. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Jump up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so your left hand has a couple of complications that your right hand does not. Okay, so let's take a look. The beginning of the second line, measure 5. From that E, you should reach down with your 4th finger and then place all the way back up to that E. So after you play the E, your 4th finger, I'll do it with my right hand so you can see it. Your 4th finger should be on that G, then replace the G, the A, the B, and the E so that you can go down after that. So that's what that fingering should be. All right, let's go ahead and let's do this left hand one more time because it's got a couple of twists and turns that the right hand does not. So let's go ahead. Left hand again from measure 3. You ready? Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4th finger here. 1 on the B, that is. 2, 3. Reach down to the G, coming up here. 1. Replace 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Prepare for those eighth notes rather. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Jump up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we're going to put that hands together. But before I do, is everybody clear on the note changes and the fingering for the left hand? It might be helpful if I wrote that left hand fingering in on the PDF. I'll remember to do that next time too. So, everybody okay so far? Hanging in there? Good. All right. Well, let's do that much, just that much, hands together. So I'm going to put both hands on the strings, even though my left hand doesn't play yet. Just get my left hand set. Here we go. Hands together. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now hands together. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now watch this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Scales. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Jump up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, pretty tuneful. Yes, it's got a couple little coordination challenges, but pretty okay. All right, we're all right so far? Now, let me explain the next part. We will go now starting in measure 10, and we'll go all the way over to measure 21. So we'll stop where the eighth notes come back in measure 22. So starting now in measure 10, excuse me. All right, let's try that again. Okay, sorry. Starting in measure 10, we have the same fingering, identical fingering between the hands, but if you look at the notes, the spacing of the notes is not the same. Your left hand and your right hand are playing different chord shapes. So this is part of the agility. Okay, so there you go. And then we have some 3-note chords. And you're going to just play those chords. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4. Either one is okay. Then some octaves, and I would connect all these octaves in your right hand. This way, I'd connect them all. Just be sure to close your fingers. Okay, so that's the right hand. Who is that? Oh, she says, it sounds like bells ringing. So nice. Yes, it does sound kind of like bells, doesn't it? It is nice. Thank you. All right. Well, so let's do the right hand all together, shall we? Just the right hand is fine. From measure 10. Okay, 3, 4. 1, 2. Now replace your 4th finger and then everything else. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And now the chords. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to use 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. All right. Notice that series of chords that we play. All the chords are the same shape except for the last one, right? So be aware that that chord is different. The second chord in measure 17. All right, let's go back and look at the left hand. The left hand will be similar. So you're going to play the same fingering as you do for the right hand for those little arpeggio things, but the quarter note arpeggios, but the chord shapes are different. And then when you get to the octaves, you're going to do the same thing you did in the right hand. Let me up my hand a little bit. So connect. It's a little bit of a stretch from the 4th finger to the thumb. Be sure as you play, you're going to close that 4th and 5th finger all the way, right? You don't want any pinkies hanging out here. So be sure it closes all the way. And then in measure 17, once again, the pattern breaks. So be prepared for that. And then we have chords here in the left hand. In the left hand chords, they change shape every measure. The measures themselves are pretty similar, except for this one. And the 4-note chord, all right? So we will go through the left hand on its own. You ready? Left hand starting in measure 10. I almost said page 10, measure 10. Here we are. Are you ready? Okay, some quarter notes, measure 10, left hand. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. Now we're going to do the left hand, excuse me, we're going to do the left hand one more time, just so that you can get all that lined up for yourself, because the left hand in this whole exercise is just a little bit more complicated than the right hand. So we'll do that left hand one more time before we put it hands together. Also, I started thinking while I was playing, always a good thing to think, huh, while you're playing. And we've had some discussions in My Harp Mastery recently about counting and rhythm. And so we've talked about how you want to practice counting, because counting, especially counting aloud, counting is a skill. And so you want to practice it. And since you want it to be a comfortable skill when you need it to help you through a difficult passage, it's always a good idea to practice it when you're not having so much trouble. So practicing it on the very easiest things you do is good, because you should be counting everything all the time. It's one of those habits of good musicians. We count all the time. And you will find that exceedingly helpful in anything that you play or anybody you play with. So, or any ensemble situation, I guess I should have said. So we're going to do the left hand one more time. You hear me counting. If this is something you feel like you want to practice, go ahead and count along with me, because it's really, really good for you, right? Just to practice that skill. So from measure 10, left hand one more time. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Oops, 4. I buzzed there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Now we're going to go back and put that much hands together, starting in measure 10. There's one thing to watch out for here, in addition to the complication, of course, of hands together, and that is in measure 21, the last measure that we're playing in this group, your right hand fourth finger, the very last note on the C, will not be able to place ahead of time because your left hand is busy on that string. So you will have to probably wait until after your left hand's played, and you may have to jump for that fourth finger just because your left hand is using the same string. So that's one small change that will happen as we do this hands together. Other than that, you should be good to go. So let's go back to measure 10. Check that you're sitting straight again. Relax, let those shoulders down. All right. Remember, if you need more room, right? You can always just lift your elbows a little bit to move your arm like away from the harp if you need more room, but don't hunch your shoulders, because that's not good, no matter what kind of harp you're playing. So your shoulders should be down. That's where tension and pain and all that stuff comes from. So keep those shoulders down. Let's do measure 10, hands together. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Watch your left hand here. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you saw what had to happen there at the end, right? Doesn't that feel good though? I mean, it's very, it has sort of a lovely, pleasant sort of sonority, nothing too special, but there you go. Now we're going to add some bigger arpeggios. So let me talk about this for a second. Hands separately isn't going to be a lot of help for us here, but the first arpeggio, C major, pretty simple. Once again, when you play an arpeggio, or anything for that matter, remember, your hand isn't going to move. Your hand's not pulling backward with each note. Your hand stays centered. Your fingers just close into your hand. And it's your arm that keeps your hand still. And that is what allows your fingers to play without tension and without having to search for the strings, because they shouldn't be having to find those strings, right? Look what happens if I pull my hand back after I play my fourth finger. In order to play another fourth finger down there, I'd have to move my hand backward. It's inefficient. So that's what makes it not good harp technique. So you want your hand to stay in one place and your fingers close into it. All right, now, so that's the first arpeggio. The second, third, and fourth arpeggios, the left hand has a bit of a stretch. And I realized that this kind of a stretch might be too much of a stretch for a lot of you. Remember, I've been playing for a long time. My fingers are all stretched out. My fingers are all kind of long anyway. But I've been playing these intervals for a really long time. So, and this is sometimes just too big a stretch for people. This is actually a very common left-hand chord too, and it often poses a problem for people who aren't used to it. And if it gives you any kind of discomfort at all, don't stretch for a chord like that, because you can injure your hand, and that is not what we want. We want you to be able to keep playing. So any kind of discomfort would mean that you wouldn't have all those fingers on the string at once. So my personal placing, I place all four fingers at once, but then I can. And you most likely can't. That's probably a big stretch for you. So the accepted technique, once again, I'll show you with my right hand. Instead of placing all four fingers at once, look how stretched out my fingers are to do this. So would be to place, this is also a harp with extra wide spacing, which doesn't help. So you're going to place 4 and 3. And as you play 4, you have these two fingers kind of open. As you play 4, you rotate up. Now remember, I just told you about keeping your hand centered. Well, you're going to keep your hand forward for those two notes and then bring it back to reach your thumb here. So if you haven't done that before, just take a moment and try that. With your left hand, it would be measures, whatever, the last measure on the second line on the second page, and then the next two, where you have big groupings. Place the bottom two notes and roll up for the top two. Okay, and then here. And that's it for the big spacing, but that's what you really want to watch. So this first one, you probably can get all 4 notes on the way you should for efficient placing. Then the bottom 2 notes, and the next measure, just the bottom 2 notes, and roll up. And this measure, bottom 2 notes, and then roll up. Now in your right hand, all those groupings are within the space of an octave or less. So all 4 fingers of those chords should go on all at once. For an arpeggio, you don't want to be placing one note at a time. Once again, we're looking for efficiency, and that's to get your fingers all on the strings at once. So place it as if it were a chord, and then just play it like an arpeggio. And the last one, of course, is a 3-2-1. Now, why do we want to do this? Why is it so important? Why do teachers emphasize so much, place it all at once? Because that's where your speed is going to come from. If you're placing only one finger at a time, you're limiting your upper speed to how fast you can get those notes on the string. Well, if you can get those fingers on the string all at once, you can play them as fast as you want because your fingers are already there. So that's what you want to do. Now, of course, let me make sure that I get people's names right because I got some comments here. So I think this is Arlene who says, can you use a 4-2-2-1? Yeah, you could. This is a more secure fingering. I mean, you could use 4-2-2-1, but once again, it's a speed thing. If you wanted to play a passage like this, I mean, this is a warm-up, but you will find passages like this in real music, and if you wanted to play it faster, the jump is going to give you trouble, where the roll-up will not. So it's a speed thing, and if you want to develop speed in your playing, not necessarily in this piece, but in any kind of playing, work on that fingering that I'm just talking about, the 4-3 with the rolling up, because that will allow you to be a lot faster and a lot more accurate than the jump will. At this slow tempo, it doesn't make much difference, but you want to not just prepare to play at this slow tempo. You want to be able to prepare to play at any speed. So the other fingering is better. Let's see. And then once again, I can't read the little names. I got to see if I can change this in Zoom. So Vicky says, I know this isn't right, but I use 3-1 and cross under 3-1. It's not a question of right. Once again, it's a question, well, here it's a question of two things. One is, on this harp, that's almost too wide for me to do, but it's not nearly as efficient. It takes longer to cross under. And so when that's the fingering you teach yourself, you're going to be teaching yourself to play slowly. So you won't be able to develop speed quite the same way if you don't use this fingering. Second thing is a fingering like that is ignoring the fact that you have a fourth finger. I find that that a lot of harpists are really good with 3 fingers on each hand, but their fourth fingers are really weak because they don't use them enough. And it can slow you down when it comes to 4-finger arpeggios, 4-finger chords, 4-finger scale passages of any sort. You just have to be prepared to use your fourth finger and to make it as nimble and as facile as the other fingers. So I really would urge you to use a 4-finger fingering here, because if you only are using your third finger, you are limiting yourself drastically to the amount of music that you'll be able to play and the speed that you'll be able to play. I mean, 3-1, 3-1, is it going to work? Yeah. Is it the best fingering? It's way, way down the list. I like the 4-2-2-1 better than I like the 3-1-3-1 from the point of developing efficiency and a nice, a nice facile technique. So it's, there are lots of fingerings that can work, but aren't going to be ideal from the standpoint of developing and furthering your technique. And that's what I would like to see you be able to do, to further your technique so that you can play more things and play them the way you want. And I think that that's a fingering that's going to limit you. So 4-2-1-2, says Nancy. Yeah, well, I knew you were going to say that. I was surprised you hadn't chimed in sooner because you said that the other day, right? 4-2-1-2 works. Yeah, it works. Is it giving you the flexibility that a 4-3 with the roll-up is? No. It's a fine fingering and it does work, but once again, it's not using all 4 fingers. And I mean, it's bad enough we don't have a 5th finger to use, right? So using all 4 fingers is a good idea so that you have that flexibility, you have those choices. When all your fingers are working and working equally nimble, equally trained, equally coordinated, you have lots and lots of choices. So that when it comes to music, that choice that you like, that, whatever fingering it is, that choice that you prefer may not be the best option for that particular piece in that particular situation. So that's why getting all those fingers working equally is so important. Okay, let's see. So Nancy says, does this fingering work for Alberti bass? Well, sure, except that an Alberti bass only has 3 notes in it, right? So 4-1-2-1 or 3, depending on the intervals. So it's a different fingering because the pattern's different. Other Nancy said, I'll have to work on stretching that 4-3 to reach. Yeah, gradually. I mean, try it with a 4th first, like the C to the F. You can work on different chords and see if you can get it to do a 4th, and then see if you can get it to do a 5th. Don't hurt yourself. That's important. But if you can, even if you have a 4 and you are rotating up to grab the 3 and the 2 and the 1, my 3rd finger's not quite on the string, and you rotate up so that the stretch, that's still better. That's still getting you more smarts in your fingers, right? We want all of them to learn. So where you have to make adaptations, that's important. We need to do that. I mean, if you absolutely have to do it, that's great. But I don't want you to limit yourself by sticking to what you can already do. We want all those fingers trained, and that's the point of any kind of technical work. Okay, so here we go. And what do I have here? Oh, glasses again. I don't like my glasses to play the harp, but I like them to read this. Okay, Vicky says, I will work on stretching that reach as well. Work gently, please. Don't overstretch. I don't want you to hurt yourself. I just want you to remember that your goal is to get all of those fingers working. So especially for older hands, they don't like to do this. My hands don't count, even though they're older, because they've just been doing this so long. But do you see how my third finger's not on the string? But as I play 4, I can rotate right up and grab it on the fly, like a trapeze artist that's jumping from trapeze to trapeze, right? You're just getting on there at the last second. Getting on there just after I play the string, but not before. And that can help you because you're not really stretching, right? I'm not stretching to get my finger on the string. And once again, it's getting you choices. It's all about that. Okay, all right, I gotta look here. One more thing, and then we're gonna play these measures here. Okay, says, well, let's see. I notice your fingers are more perpendicular to the strings. What about more parallel on the big stretches? Well, my technique required, the method that I learned, this is where my fingers are. My hand is upright and my fingers are perpendicular. So I don't play this way, but it's not going to make any difference as far as the stretch goes. You may feel it more. Frankly, I think this is a harder stretch than this because you're stretching further. You're doing a hypotenuse. I mean, if your third finger is dipping down, you have this far to stretch. I'm measuring it with my finger. Can you see it's almost my entire index finger long? When I'm this way, it's about 1/4 of an inch shorter when my hand is perpendicular. It's about 1/4 of an inch shorter for me to play this way. Now, if this is not how and that makes a difference. If you're not used to playing this way and you play with your hand down the way many people do, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. There isn't anything wrong. It's a perfectly legitimate, it's just not the one that I learned and the one that I play. But this is okay, but you're going to play it the same way. And if this stretches too much, just do what I said before. It's not on the string, it's just kind of hovering. Just jump up to it. Think about what you're teaching yourself. If you can't make the stretch and have that security of having your finger on the string, by letting yourself grab it, trapeze artist style, what you're teaching yourself to do is you're teaching yourself to trust that your fingers are going to know where to go because you've done it so many times. My finger's just even kind of closed. I mean, it's not even right there, but I'm going to jump onto it and then roll up. And I think, once again, it's about choices. You know, a fast, fluid, agile technique comes from having those choices. So even if your fingers are down, that's exactly what I would do. But, and this could be just because my third fingers are really extra long, but you know, I'm looking at the physics of it, right? That hypotenuse is going to be longer. It's just, you know, or physics, geometry, trigonometry, however you like it. Okay, so let's do these arpeggios and we'll stop. I will stop harping on the fingering. Here we go. So you use today, whatever fingering is comfortable for you today, and then you can experiment with it from there. All right, we're going to start in measure 22, and I haven't warned you actually about that last line, have I? Just 3, 2, 1, 2. Be prepared for that. Your left hand doesn't have to do anything complicated there. Just place the chord. All right, let's do this. Measure 22, please, where the 8th notes start. I'll do this a couple times. Go back and play the whole thing. Here we go. Measure 22. 3, 4, and 1, and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Now, I'll just clue you in because I was experimenting while we were playing, and all 3 of those big chords I did 3 different ways. One I placed on my fingers, one I placed 2 and then rolled up, and one I just placed the bottom one and did the trapeze artist thing. So I tried all 3 of them. They all worked for me. Okay, so let's, you can tell the French horn lesson has started here. It's her last lesson of the school year. So, okay, here we go. Measure 22, please. The 8th notes. Here we go. 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that time I played them all the same way. I just went with what my fingers can do. So let's go back. We're going to go all the way back to the beginning of this little warm up, play the whole thing through, and then you will be so totally warmed up and ready to do any other harp stuff that you want to do today. So let's get this moving. All right, I'm going to place my left hand. Are you ready from the beginning? 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. You can make it sound pretty if you want. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ah, there. I feel very C majorish, very warmed up, ready to do a little bit more work. I have time to do a little bit of work before I get on the video for the 15 minutes of focus group. So if you're in that, I will see you very, very soon. We will be doing another one of these next week. As I said, it's sort of a mystery topic at the moment. So we'll go on with something else, but I am pretty sure that you will enjoy this as well. So we're going to have a good time with it, and I will look forward to seeing you all next Friday morning for that. Hopefully, I see you before that. We will have a call on. When do we have a call? Well, let's see, the My Heart Mastery people and others, we've got the webinar coming up on Monday night, and I hope you've registered for that. We have the Facebook challenge, of course, that's still going on. Today's its last day, although we'll be meeting a couple more times, especially for prize winners and that sort of thing. So let's see. Oops, I've got stuff coming in I'm going to have to read. Here we go. Oh, my glasses are an issue here. All right. So let's see. Will says, thanks so much. And Vicky likes it too. This is great. Susan says, thank you so much. It's been very useful. I'm so glad. Sarah says, this is a really good exercise to watch for replacement noise. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Darlene says, measure 18 reminds me of oscillating for harmonious blacksmith. Well, certainly. Same kind of idea. Absolutely. Pam says, thank you. You're welcome. Jennifer says, thank you. You are welcome. Nancy says, could you please repeat the fingering for right hand 27 and 28? 27 and 28. I use 3, 2, 1, 2. Easy enough, right? Just what comes naturally there, 3, 2, 1, 2. So nothing odd there. Arlene says, thank you. You're welcome. George says, thanks a bunch. You're welcome a bunch, George. Maris loved it. Sherry says, thank you so much. You're welcome. Darlene says, thank you. Nancy says, thank you. You are also very welcome. It's so great to have you all here. So I look forward to seeing you all very, very soon. And I might see you very, very soon. Ooh, let me just check one more thing here. Debbie says measures 10 to 14 are challenging. Well, indeed they are, right? And this is part of what we've been doing in my Harp Mastery all month with the hands untogether coordination challenges. This is very similar to some of that stuff. So excellent. Oh, I'm so glad that people are glad that I'm going to continue. Perfect. Carol says, I love this because I'm too prone to jump into playing tunes without warming up. Well, warming up is good, isn't it? And it feels good too. So, all right, Denise says, thanks as usual. Enjoy the practice session. Good, Denise. I'm so glad. All right, wonderful. Thank you all for being here. And I look forward to seeing you very, very soon. See ya. Bye.